Patty, are you a gardener?
I am not this year, but we have, we've been struggling with the garden. It's not very big, and it takes time. And with chasing teenager boys, it's hard. But I love gardening though.
Yeah.
We'll get
All right,
along fine.
So we're live right now. So I will get it started. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the agenda and the other attachments that we're going to talk about. All right. Can everyone see the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can.
All right, perfect. So I think we can get it started. Nadine, if you wanted to start us off.
Call to order.
So roll call, we have Nadine Gomez,
Here.
Renee Rahutsky,
Here.
Miriam Jackson,
Here.
Wilder Ritz,
Here.
and Andy Scholl. So he's absent.
I move that we excuse Andy's absence.
I second that.
I can.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? No? Okay. So review of the meeting summary reports from June 1st, 2020. I have the minutes right here, as well as the minutes were shared on the previous meeting reminders. So if you wanted to pull it up that way, you can. So if you've had a chance to look at the notes, that's great. Otherwise, feel free to take a look right now on your computer. Renee, I think you're on mute.
I move that we accept the notes as written.
I second that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, perfect. Go back to the agenda. So next is our public comment period. I thought I would use this opportunity to also cover the new business item for waste stream reform, since we do have a guest speaker tonight. This is the item that we had talked about last month about what types of procedures and regulations are in place regarding downtown businesses or restaurants that use takeout items. So we were talking specifically about the use of single-use plastic items that a lot of restaurants and businesses are using right now. And given the increase in takeout, we might see an increase in waste from those actions. So I thought it would be nice to get a whole comprehensive view of how the health department, Kansas City Health Department, looks at the regulations, especially with COVID-19, and how we try to ensure the safety of everyone that's going to be using the takeout. And so we have the Health Commissioner, Joan Seidel, here tonight. So if you like, I thought I'd hand it off to her to talk a little bit about what the requirements are and what the Health Department has done with their working with restaurants and businesses, and then we could have a few questions, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you hear me then? This is Joan.
Hi, Joan.
Hi. So thank you for inviting me this evening. I'm glad to be able to have this conversation with all of you. And I just want to say that the health department has actually several years ago looked into both biodegradable takeout service as well as the reusable type. And I think that there was actually one restaurant in Kent that had started using a reusable takeout mealware. But what they found is that they did not have good compliance with the people using it, bringing it back, because it has to be in a somewhat clean condition. People were bringing it back with a lot of food residue on it, and that has to be cleaned, and then it has to be sterilized or disinfected. So it's a little bit of a difficult process, and they actually stopped using it. It is actually more costly, of course, than regular takeout services. But I completely understand your concern about the increased waste, because at the health department we were speaking about that too, not only from the carryout service, but just from the medical waste associated with the pandemic. So if this is something that you'd like to pursue, I would have some issue in terms of COVID-19 right now and the overall safety. There's no law written that I'm aware of that says that you can't have reusable mealware during a pandemic, but I don't know that that would have been on the books prior to this. But we do follow the state regulations in terms of food service organizations and them having to meet that criteria for safety. So any type of a reusable serviceware has to be approved by the National Safety Foundation. And I think because of that approval process, that's why there's usually increased cost in those products. And as I said earlier, the restaurant that uses them has to be willing to not only bear the burden of the increased cost, but then they have to be willing to properly reprocess those as well. So that means extra time, extra steps, and extra money for the restaurant that in most cases is going to have to be passed on to the customer. And again, there were problems with users not doing their part, which is their, cleaning, at least rinsing before they bring it back. I did reach out to the jurisdiction, the health department that serves Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, because I understood that they were using this format. But what they said was that it might be happening at Cornell University, but it was not currently happening in Ithaca, like in the downtown restaurants. And I don't know if maybe they stopped that with COVID. I was trying to get a hold of some additional people to get some more background, but I just thought I would share that. So in terms of once COVID is more under control, we have our numbers under control, and it's not as much of a crisis as it is right now. The health department would be more than happy, to work with the sustainability committee on working up a plan, because each different food service organization would have to have their own plan for how they were going to use these products and how they'd be reprocessing them and that. So that would be something that we'd have to do. But if that's something that maybe the Sustainability Commission would like to look at, maybe I'm sure there's probably some basic templates out there for the process that could be shared with FSOs that were willing to do this. I don't know if you were looking to the health department in terms of mandating that they go to this type of a process, or in terms of, working with the central business district and those restaurants and whatnot that are downtown that might be willing to. I think you would have an easier time maybe moving forward with a project like this if the restaurant owners bought into it. I think if it was put upon them that they had to do it, that there might be a little bit of pushback. So I'll stop there and answer any questions then.
So, hi, Joan. Thank you for coming and talking with all of us. I'm Renee Rahutsky. I think I was the person who talked about the Ithaca program. They have there's a nonprofit that has dishes that they bring places and then they collect them afterward. And so I think part of, I don't know, maybe this is a Kent Social Services question, but how can we create like a local economy that helps to, if we had like an organization, some organization, probably a nonprofit that did reusables and took charge of sterilizing and supplying to restaurants, and then taking the dirty dishes for restaurants, and sort of an outside business that does that, would that be something that would be in compliance with with our health department. I don't know if I explained that well enough.
No, I think so. But unfortunately, the restaurant has to be the supplier as well as the reprocessor of that reusable equipment. So having a nonprofit kind of like third party doing that, in my mind, sounds like a great idea because there'd be one group in charge of it, and then there might be some consistency in the practice, which I think would lead to better results and better outcomes. But because the restaurant has to be the person or the organization that both supplies and takes care of the product in terms of reuse, then that means that each individual, restaurant has to take care of that. So I don't think a third party could. I could do a little more research into that just to make certain.
But that's something, so that's because of our health code.
Yeah, and that might just be the state by state regulation. So New York might have a different regulation than the state of Ohio.
And it may be, the restaurants might be under a different regulation than nonprofit kinds of things are. So maybe there's a intersection there between. So like I'm all about like, let's change the regulation if we can find a way to do it that protects people's health and also protects the environment. So this is really helpful to hear that, like, where the snags are in the system.
Right. Yeah, so that would be one is, and I'll double check. I did speak with Justin, our director for environmental health, and he's done a lot of research into this because this was a passion of his when he first came to the job. But so I'll have him do a little more work just to make sure that there can't be a third party in Ohio that does that that collection and the redistribution part.
Because if they were certified, so like they're a manufacturer who, makes plastic or styrofoam or whatever, has to be certified that their product is sterile or, food service sterile when it goes to the restaurant, right?
Yeah, so this National Safety Foundation is that organization that has to have their stamp of approval on whatever the product is that the restaurant wants to buy.
Right. So reusing a product. So there's not somebody making money, which is always a challenge in these things, right?
Yeah.
We also have non-restaurant culprits, if you want to use that term here, particularly Starbucks. I flinch every time I see somebody walk out of Starbucks with a hard plastic, non-recyclable cold drink.
Yeah.
It really drives me nuts, and I just have this vision of piles of Starbucks cold drink things in the nearest landfill. One of your predecessors, Renee, at the UU Church, Julie Soberman Bunn, mentioned on Facebook a couple of weeks ago that there are other areas that have solved this problem, like Pennsylvania, and their food dispensing businesses are using biodegradable things, and we should really not have to put up with this.
There certainly are biodegradable products out there. I don't know what the cost comparison is between the reusable, the biodegradable, and the standard, type of styrofoam that I don't think makes many people happy. But I know that there is increased cost involved. There was another restaurant in downtown Kent that was using biodegradable, but again, because of the cost, people complained to them, and so to cut costs, that was where because that's what had been added most recently, that is what they took away to help their bottom line. So I think getting back to that, which restaurants might be willing and eager to look into a solution like this, because I think that's something that they could promote, that they're a reduced trash type of a carry out, and then people can feel better about that, to reach out to organizations that might be willing, but they just don't know how to do it, and then maybe work with them that way. And then or maybe there would be certain types of foods that would be more amenable to being easily cleaned off of the containers, so that then people would be willing to do that and bring the containers back. I don't know if with a kind of transient population, we have people not just from Kent coming to eat here, but people from out of city limits. I know that Kent State, when they switched food service organizations, they went to a reusable container, and they are now stopping it because the students didn't bring them back. But they thought it would be an easy way to do it because it's kind of a defined community. They're right there on campus. They're not traveling far distances, and that they would be easily able to make that exchange. But evidently they'll be eliminating that program.
That's depressing.
Right?
Yeah. There's
I think,
this.
I think a lot of problems come down to a lack of community cooperation, which is really much the same problem we have with people refusing to wear masks. It's very disappointing. People not being willing to do this, that, and the other thing, and just shrugging off the consequences.
Definitely a common good aspect to this, which is you're not the boss of me in tension with the common good, right? So,
Right.
but I think for us as the Sustainability Commission, we can look at both the psychological and sociological bits, and also the legal bits, and how we can hold that intention. So maybe if there's, it's easy to say we can't have reusables because the law says we can't.
Right.
But if that's not a barrier, maybe there's, a way to promote a win-win. I'm a little bit Pollyannish, I realize, Joan, but
No,
also, I think we have the opportunity to invite people to be, behave differently also.
Right. No. And I think, one small step that we had been talking about in the office was when people order carry out, I hear more and more the restaurants are asking, do you want mealware to go with that? Because if you're carrying it out and bringing it home, maybe you don't need the little plastic wrapped spoon, fork, and knife with the dinky little napkin that really doesn't do any good anyway. If we could start asking questions like that, maybe that would start to make the transition into making people more aware and more mindful of, oh no, I'm just bringing that home. I really don't need that plasticware. So, little steps like that.
Would be a start. What about, so here's another question. We get a meal from Taproot Catering. So you pre-order ahead of time and you go down, and I asked about, can you reuse our containers? And of course they can't, but like bringing your own containers for people to...
I had asked about that too, and Justin said that no, you can't bring your own Pyrex or whatever reusable container you have at home, whether it's Tupperware or not, because there's different people that are going to be handling that, and there's just too many steps, and there's too much risk for contamination, especially right now. Yeah.
I remember how Bintry used to fill up people's thermoses, but I'm sure they discontinued that now with COVID.
Yeah, it's really, really tricky. I used to, I ride Amtrak a lot, and I bring my own cup, and they will still fill a paper cup and then dump it into my cup. And I asked them about that, and I guess what happened a few times is people would have liquor in their cup, and if it got spilled, then the whole cafe car would smell like liquor. So there's this contamination thing. I totally get that. But gosh, it just seems like there's got to be something we can do. But you've been so helpful, Joan. This is really great.
I do have a website that I can send to the committee or send to Harrison, and he can forward it to the committee, because they do have some nice selections of choices of reusables to just kind of keep tucked away. So in case you want to start pursuing it more, and again, we would be happy to work with you and the restaurant owners who would be willing to participate in terms of selection and making that plan, so that if it was something that we could move to once things stabilize just a bit more, that you would at least have some products to look at to see cost wise, do they fit the needs of the restaurant in terms of the amount of food that they typically serve, because they might need multiple different sizes of containers, and you'd want to get, I would think, the smallest, best fitting one for whatever meal was being served. So I'll forward that link onto Harrison then.
That would be great. I know there's a lot of things that are compostable, but with a like institutional sized composter, and maybe that's part of what we look at as a community.
Right. Yeah.
We put our Chipotle like paper bowls into our compost pile, rip them up a little bit and let the worms take over. But
Right.
some of the other things, the things that are like plastic like that are made from organic materials need to go into a higher capacity composting situation, I guess.
All right. Well, if any other questions come up, feel free to reach out to me and I'll try to get the answers for you as quickly as I can. And I'd be happy to come back if the discussion needs to take another route or something, or we need to take more steps. I'd be happy to come back and speak with you again.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Joan. I really appreciate your time personally.
Oh, you're all quite welcome. It was nice to be a part of the discussion. Okay.
Thank you, Joan.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.
All right. Stay safe, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and sign off then.
So I pulled up the agenda again. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Welcome, Andy.
we did not receive any other public comments, so I think that'll end the public comment period, and we can go straight into old business. So as far as the ad hoc committee update goes, we met previously on, I think the group met, if I remember correctly, on June 25th. Back in June, but we are currently planning on meeting again this Thursday, the 9th. So we're going to continue moving forward with the conversation for the climate action plan. This meeting on the 9th is going to be a subcommittee meeting where we're going to talk about vulnerability and risk, I believe, so that different areas of focus for our phase 3 that we've outlined for the climate action plan, like exploration of hazards and vulnerability and risk. This is going to be focused on one of those subcommittee portions of that phase. And so that's what they're planning to talk about this week. And if you remember, the action plan group had joined ICLEI's sustainability planning cohort for this year, and so they're still attending the monthly calls with ICLEI, and those have been beneficial. The recordings that they've created from those presentations are helpful, and if you guys would like, I could share that with you as well, so you have those recordings if you ever want to go back to it and look at the presentations and the recordings and also learn from that. I think one of the great things about these planning cohort sessions is that you can go back to them whenever you need them. So those are helpful. Dr. Scholl, is there anything you'd like to include as far as the climate action plan?
Not at this point. We'll have more to say, I think, after Thursday's meeting, since the last one was more general.
Yep. All right, are there any questions on that before we move on to the farmers market? All right. So as far as the farmers market attendance, as far as I know, they're still limiting the vendors to food vendors, but I believe. Besides going to the first couple of markets, I haven't been there recently. Has anyone gone there recently?
Yeah,
Uh,
I was there on Saturday. They had soap. I remember seeing Emily's soap.
Yeah, she's there. I actually work at the farmers market currently.
Oh, that's right. So Wilder, what booth are you at?
I am at Oak Tree Hydroponics. It's just a lettuce hydroponics place. Yeah, but I've been mainly seeing only food vendors. I believe that's what they were trying to limit it to right now. But I know for the drive-through, when they had the car only drive-through, that's what it was. But I think they're now starting to allow some other businesses, like Emily Soap, and I've seen like a dog treat company,
Yeah.
some plant companies like flowers and other things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too many other like outside things other than that. I know they're keeping for the safety requirements. Everyone has to wear a mask and or gloves. They have to keep food and money separate, to reduce contamination and everything. But yeah.
So I
There were
think
tomatoes there again. That was kind of nice.
our attendance at the market might be still to be determined as far as when we can return to the market. But Nadine or Wilder, would you guys be open to touching base with Andrew to see what he thinks as far as the future of the market with adding or subtracting vendors?
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely can. I see Andrew there every single time I go. However, I won't be able to talk to him this weekend, but next weekend I can.
One of their rules is no talking, no stopping and chatting.
Yeah, they are
I'm
trying
there
to reduce
yeah.
that.
So I don't think us being there would follow the rules.
Yeah, probably not at the moment,
Yeah. So.
unfortunately, because they want people to keep on moving. They don't want like crowds of people.
Mhm.
That's true.
So I'm wondering about setting up, I don't know, maybe a couple times setting up a table like anywhere. I mean, anybody can set a table up anywhere in the city on a sidewalk, right? For a couple of hours.
I
Are
believe
there
that's legal.
As
Just-
long as you have approval of the property owner directly in front of the sidewalk space, and then if you're not blocking the sidewalk, I think so. Yeah.
So like over by the gazebo, let's say, which is public space, I believe.
You would need the approval of Parks and Rec, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, maybe that's something we could do is have a, I don't know. There's education, right? I'd still like to have us out there somewhere, and I'm not traveling anymore, so I love talking to people, so I'd be interested maybe in doing a table once a month. I don't know if other folks are.
I'm out.
You're out.
Staying home. I'm not going out there where all the people are that much.
I am with the mask outdoors. If you know my social media, you can tell that that's happened.
Yeah. You don't know who's coming though, but
That's true.
yeah, I'm too afraid of how people act sometimes.
It's
Hey, Harrison,
understandable.
where's the house, the sustainability house living these days?
Sustainability House is currently in the storeroom where we put all of our sustainability materials at the service admin complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think as far as I know, the last time I saw it, it was there, but I can double check and make sure.
Yeah, just if we want to use it again, want to make sure we know where it is.
Sure. All right, well, is there, let's see, anything else for the farmer's market? All right, community outreach update, Kent Environmental Council. Is there anything, Renee, you'd like to report?
I'm still meeting by Zoom. A few people are meeting at the breakfast at the Little City Grill. Not much that they're interested in how they, there's an environmental justice component to the Black Lives Matter movement. And so they're interested in that. But other than that, just, sharing about pollinators and all the other things that, contribute to our environment. That's it.
We also have the KSU Office of Sustainability. As far as I know, with campus getting ready for opening back up in the fall, I imagine they'll be more active, but as far as classes on campus, I think a majority of classes are still going to be remote. So I'm not sure exactly how active the Office of Sustainability is going to be this fall. Has anyone been in contact with Melanie or Leah?
I did see the green energy tour is not going to plan anything this fall.
Yep, I did see that too. So they're planning to cancel the green energy tour as it existed in the past couple of years with on-site visits. I think the complimentary tour, there was like a national solar tour that took place the week before in past years for the Geo Tour. It's now going to be virtual, where you can take virtual tours, but otherwise there's no tour that I know of that's going to move forward for Green Energy Ohio. And then we have Family and Community Services. Is there anything anyone has seen or wanted to report for FNCS? All right. So that brings us to the Tree City Bulletin article. This is something that we had talked about previously, our idea from June. I'm going to pull up the draft article that we have right now. This is currently titled, Putting Your Gardens to Bed. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep.
So this was something I shared in our previous emails, reminders for the meeting. So if you'd like to go back to that email and pull up this item, you can. So there's some really great information if we wanted to discuss any potential changes. I did mention to Renee that in its current form, it's a bit long, so I imagine we'll have to cut it down a little bit.
I noticed on the last page where you had the Portage County Gardeners, there were a lot of typos and stuff. On the last page, there were several things. I have to read through it to know where they were, but I just remembered it was on that last page.
What we could do is we have an abbreviated or edited version, and then we can post the longer version on the Kent Environmental Council website, if that makes sense, because I know you needed to cut stuff out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the having stuff from the Portage County Master Gardeners is good, because I think part of my hope for this is for people to see it's not just the same old people. These are people in the community who some folks might recognize. So maybe that the tips from the Master Gardeners, we keep, maybe edited a little bit with the typos and stuff, and then put a little link. I can put something on the Kent Environmental Council website that I can publish when this comes out with a longer, for more information, and then have a link there.
Yep, I think that's definitely doable.
So is there someone who can edit this who's, to be honest, I didn't look at it closely. I just forwarded it to Harrison.
Right, like there's just one, it's not anything big, but like under Nadine Hawkins, that's funny enough. When cleaning out dead annuals and perennials, be sure to leave some seed heads. It's like
We'll leave some seeds. Yeah.
3 things naming the same noun, and it's kind of confusing. And there was another one somewhere else, very similar to that kind of thing, where it was just confusing because it was a word missing or a word there. I don't remember where else I saw it, but I'll keep looking. But I liked it. I liked the information.
Yeah, I appreciated Al's willingness to do this. And so, I mean, I guess Nadine, maybe Nadine and I could work together to edit it.
Yeah.
And, you know, have the longer version and the shorter version. And you need that by this Friday or next Friday?
It would be by this Friday, the 10th.
This Friday.
So if you like, we could probably approve this draft as a concept. And then once we make final changes to shorten it and clarify the grammar revisions, then I could email that to the group before Friday, just so everyone has the final okay. And then Friday we could turn it in.
Nadine, do you have time for that this week?
I'm not doing much else. It's too hot outside. I'm not going out there anymore.
I'm almost with you there. Just need to water in the morning.
Yeah, that's it. It's cool in the morning. I can stay out till about 10 or 11 and it gets too hot.
So I move that we accept this draft with the provision that we, after Nadine and I edit it, that we'll send it to the group for final approval or final, not approval, but affirmation via email.
Yeah, final review.
Final review. Is that, I don't know, is that a good enough motion?
I think so. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, perfect. Let's see. So as far as new business, we had the waste stream reform, which we had talked about with Joan. So I don't think we need to talk about it again. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then for the second new business item, we have the bicycle friendly community. So we had applied for the bicycle friendly community designation. We were shooting for the bronze level designation. And we got the response back from the League of American Bicyclists that we are going to be given a honorable mention designation. So that's the level right below bronze. And they also gave us a report card, which I'm about to share with you now. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
So this is the report card given to us by the League of American Bicyclists. After we submitted our application with all the stats, they put it together in this really cool graphic and gave it to us. And this is currently on the city website.
What makes a bicycle friendly business? Wouldn't Kent Cycle be one?
Well, to be a business, you actually have to apply directly to the league. So they also, businesses have to go through their own application process.
Okay. Okay.
And Kent Cycle, I think, would obviously be a good bicycle friendly business, but they just need to complete the application.
Okay.
Hey, Harrison, I have a question. Would an ad hoc committee for the bicycle friendly community be a thing under this? Like to look at some of these things and help make suggestions for us to suggest to the city council for action items?
I think one of the things you'll see here is that an active bicycle advisory committee is one of the key things that the leagues wants to see cities have. And so currently we don't have a bicycle advisory committee. And that's the same case for Kent State and the application that the Office of Sustainability, Melanie, when she applied, that was one of the key steps that they had to create in order to reach a higher designation. So that's one of the things, opportunities for collaboration that Melanie and I saw, that we could create a Kent State / City of Kent bicycle advisory committee so we could talk about biking all over the entire city of Kent. And so pre-COVID, that was the idea, that this year we would work to create an advisory committee of students and residents to talk about biking issues. And that's still the idea if you guys support it and want to continue with that. But otherwise, if not, then we would still need to create an advisory committee, which if we created one just city-based and not university-based, that's an option. But I would think that having a university city one would be a cool collaboration.
Would this be an ad hoc committee under our commission, or would it be something, a totally separate thing that city council would form?
I think right now the idea, if we formed a bicycle advisory committee with Kent State and the Office of Sustainability, it would not be an ad hoc committee of the commission. It would instead be its own entity. So a lot of the advisory committees are not governmentally sanctioned committees in these cities. So as you see around the nation, these advisory committees are more like grassroots advocacy groups to a certain extent. And so some do go the full governmental authority where they are created by the city council as a commission, and some are just grassroots advocacy groups. So I think if we were to pair with Kent State, it'd be more of an advocacy group. But if we wanted to put it as an ad hoc committee of the Sustainability Commission, that can happen as well.
So maybe the Kent Environmental Council, who already has a bicycle and walking friendly plank in their platform, might be a place to host that.
I think so. That could be a possibility.
Yeah, or so see, you know, I always look for the accountability and the like, what, you know, how do they connect with other organizations within the community for the maximum impact and accountability.
So I think there's going to need to be some discussions with Melanie at Kent State to see what they're thinking, how they're planning to involve the students. So that, I think based on those discussions, that would kind of determine the route going forward. But I think any committee or commission would need to have stakeholders like the Kent Environmental Council, bike-friendly businesses, you know, bike cycling groups, Kent State students, residents. So it would need to include as many stakeholders as possible. So that would be a part of our key steps to bronze, which is what they have right here listed in the report card.
So who would be the convening entity to help make that happen? Would it be us, or would it be Kent State, or?
Well, I think right now it's pretty much open to whoever wants to be the flag bearer. We haven't talked about it enough between Melanie and myself to really flesh it all out. So I think it comes down to who wants to be the advocate and the champion and try to organize all the different stakeholders together. So that's kind of the exciting part right now. There's really no limitations to how far we could take it. We just have to see who might want to be interested.
So, and then a miracle happened, right?
So if you want, I could reach out to Melanie again and see what her thoughts are as far as the fall. I'm not sure exactly what the plans will be with students, a lot of students being remote. And I also did recently find out that the bicycle vendor VO Ride is going to be pulling their bikes. So that bicycle share program that we had last summer I believe is going to be going away in the fall.
Maybe
Is that
Ann,
because of the pandemic with the students not being there, or?
I'm not exactly sure. Be All Right is a private business, so the bottom line is really important. So I imagine with fewer students on campus and with bicycles having the, the symbol of multi-use and having people touch the same thing might turn people off as far as contamination. So I'm not exactly sure what the reasons were, but I'm sure we'll find out in the coming months.
Yeah, no, that made sense. I just was hoping it wasn't that because of lack of use last year that they were giving up.
I don't think so. 2019 was a pretty a great year as far as bicycle use. The amount of use on that bicycle share program was the best it had ever been, given all the generations of the bicycle share from the stations around campus and downtown. The dockless platform seemed to be successful. So I would imagine that it wouldn't have been the case.
thanks, Harrison. This is great.
I'll reach out to Melanie and I'll let you know what I hear back, and we'll see what their plans are at Kent State.
You have one more meeting with us?
No, this is going to be the last, actually. Yeah, so I'll try to share everything with the group and also Patty so that she's aware of the different items moving forward. And obviously I'll still be available directly to Patty. So if you wanted to give a question to her, she could contact me and I'll let you know. All right, as far as the agenda, we're at other business. Are there any other items anyone would like to talk about?
I'd like to make a motion to express the commission's appreciation for Harrison's leadership during his time with us.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
As someone who's been on the commission before you and after you, it's made a major difference having you here. Really gonna miss you. So, but I know Patty will do well. You'll teach it right and we'll be ready to go.
Well, thank you, everyone. I sincerely appreciate it. That really means a lot to me. I'm glad that I was able to do some great work with everyone here on the commission. It's really the work that you guys have done over the last couple of years and with our past members that have really, made the commission a great place to talk about Kent and make Kent a better place. So I'm glad that you guys are excited to keep that moving forward.
Where are you going in Texas? I missed that part.
So I'm moving back to North Texas. It's a town called Denton, Texas. That's where the University of North Texas is. So that's where we'll be living.
All right. Well, great. Good luck to both of you. It's good to, as a person who moved away for most of my career, I came home when I retired. It's kind of nice to come back to where you belong. So enjoy.
Oh, I do want it to be shown in the minutes, so we need a second.
Right.
That you, Ann, who seconded my motion?
Oh, I'll second it.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Make sure the minutes reflect it. So you
Absolutely.
are honored in perpetuity.
Yes.
So are there any other business items?
Welcome, Patty. Not a business item, but we're excited to have you with us as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Miriam, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Well, we are adjourned, everyone. So thank you so much. This was a great meeting, and I'm glad to have been able to work with you. So have a great night, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, Harrison. Good luck.
Good luck.